After winning 3 championships in a span of 5 years, the mighty Golden State Warriors were brought back to earth with a series of challenging circumstances. Kevin Durant decided to bring his talents to Brooklyn. Former Finals MVP Andre Iguodala was traded. Veteran Sean Livingston retired. Klay Thompson went through 2 career-threatening injuries. Steph Curry and Draymond Green both had their fair share of injuries as well and had to carry the load for a young, struggling Warriors team. A team that was dead last in the 2020 season and a team that got bounced as early as the play-in tournament during the 2021 season. Yet, this season, things have finally started to look good for the Warriors once again. Steph Curry is playing MVP basketball. Draymond Green is back to being a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Andre Iguodala is back with the team as well. They have a young core that is full of potential, led by Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kamenga, and James Wiseman. Trade acquisition Andrew Wiggins has fit in perfectly and is now an all-star. And yes, sir, Klay Thompson is healthy and is starting to get his groove back. And so, for today's episode, we will be talking about the resurgence of the Golden State Warriors. We are also joined today by our co-host, Jonas de Guzman.
Let's go. Well, it's a good time to be back, sir. It's been a while,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, nice to have Jonas back again. Of course, we also have Sir John Murr. Okay. To share with us our thoughts, okay, for today's episode, which is, of course, about Steph, Klay, and the Dubs. Okay, so thoughts on the Dubs first, sir? Golden State
Ah,
Warriors?
and sa Dubs, sa Warriors, yun, ano na, buhay na sila ulit. Kumbaga, 'di ba? Isa sa pinakamaganda kasi talaga sa Warriors, ang saya nila panoorin. Parang
Totoo yan.
ang genuine nila pag pinapanood mo sila. Parang talagang magkakaibigan na nagba-basketball.
Oo.
So, lalo na ngayon nakabalik na si Klay, 'di ba? Tas yung emotion talaga ni Klay bago siya makabalik or talagang parang mararamdaman mo talaga parang pati ikaw mafo-frustrate eh. 'Di
Oo.
ba? So, ayun. Pero kumbaga, happy talaga yung basketball world na nakabalik na si Klay Thompson. Kumbaga, talagang belong siya eh. Belong talaga siya mag-basketball. So,
Yeah.
ayun. So, sana ngayon makaabot sila sa ano or parang makakapag ano pa sila. Siguro meron pa silang 1 to 2 years na ano eh, na run tas pa-decline na yun eh. Sad to say. Di ba? Yeah.
Yeah. So, tama yun. I totally agree. Sobrang saya panoorin ng Warriors because parang yun nga, yung may genuine happiness no, whenever they're playing. Right now, aside for Jonas is very interested in this because we all know, aside from being Mr. Bucks, ay
Let's
naku,
go.
sobrang ano rin to, sobrang tinding Warriors fan din to. Okay, so simulan natin sa mga initial thoughts mo, Jonas, about the Warriors.
Well, again, like we mentioned nung preseason, high nga tayo po sa kanila. And initially, we were right talaga. And I think nag-exceed pa at least the expectations na they would move up to the standings that high. I think they're number 2 in the West right now behind the Suns. Steph caught fire again. I think at initially, medyo ngayon though, nasa shooting slump siya. But I think ang nakakatulong for the Warriors is how the role players are playing alongside Steph. I think they had good signings with Otto Porter Jr. Bielitsa is a good space out shooter. Even getting Gary Payton Jr. Bringing energy off the bench helps out. Jordan Poole as well. And even when Klay came back, I think there's a renewed energy for the Dubs, and I think they can go at least the West
Okay,
Finals.
so, yan, ganda ng mga initial thoughts ni Jonas, no? Yung he mentioned about the additions and then, of course, yung pagbabalik ni Clay and then Steph playing at his typical MVP level. Okay, you were very high on the Dubs nung off-season. Di ba? Pinili natin yan na maging
Oh, mataas na, mataas.
taas na team yan. So, they obviously, hindi sila obviously nag-disappoint. dahil they really, well,
Mhm.
lived up to the expectations. And Andrew Wiggins, by the way, sir,
Yeah,
playing like an all-star, no? Wala nang nagsasabi na bust si
but yeah.
Andrew Wiggins. He just needed to really go to a situation that would,
Mhm.
bring out his A game. Ika nga. Okay? Level. Okay, so simula tayo dun sa yung parang ginawa rin nating atake nun with the New York Knicks. Okay, so simulan natin with the way they went about the draft. No, doon naman lahat nagsisimula, 'di ba? Like we
Right.
knew that after they got eliminated during the um
The playing
play-in
tournament.
tournament when they got eliminated by the Memphis Grizzlies. No, they had so much to look forward to because of the draft. No, so they had the number 14 and the number 7 pick, who eventually became Jonathan Kamenga and Moses Moody. Some of your thoughts, Jonas? Ano yung mga thoughts mo about itong mga additions na ito?
I'll start with Moody kasi siya yung medyo in and out sa rotation sa ngayon. But Moody is a good shooter. Like, I've seen him at least do some spot ups. Also tries to attack the ring. But I'm really high on Kuminga as of the moment. Looking at his performance for the last few games, he has been really good for Steve Kerr. I think he has been a good insertion for the team. I think they're really trying to integrate it into the system, and he really is in attack mode as of the moment. I'm really high on him. I think his potential is high for Kuminga. He needs to work probably on his shooting somehow and his free throw shooting, but he really attacks the rim. I think he plays with Steph well. I think Draymond also try and Draymond. Oh, never mentioned Draymond as well earlier on, but I think Draymond has been a good leader for all these rookies, even Moses Moody. So
Okay, so thank you for your thoughts, Jonas, on Jonathan Kuminga and also on
Moses
Moses Moody. Okay, so let's just be for the record, no? Of course, in terms of their statistics, Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga, well, numbers aren't so impressive, especially for Moses Moody. He's only played in 27 games, started one, averages only 7 minutes per game with 2.2 points and 1.1 rebounds, and that's it. No, and he also has a PER of 6.73. While for Jonathan Kuminga, uh, between the two of them, he has actually seen more action. He's played in 36 games, started 4 games. He has been playing a lot recently, because of the Draymond injury.
yep,
And then he's actually averaging 11.9 minutes, 6.8 points, 2.4 boards, and look at this, a PR of 15.06 for the former G League Ignite standout. Okay.
yep.
So is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down for these rookies?
Well, kay Moody, I'm not so sure kasi he has more two-way stints with the G League. So matagal pa yung so ganun pa sa kanya. Kay Kuminga, I'm high on him. Ganun ako kay Kuminga. I like him a lot talaga. Yeah,
Okay.
that is mine.
So, pag kay Moody, parang game over. Pero pag kay Kuminga,
Ding ding ding
yung
ding.
naman. Okay, so sige. So, we're done with the draft. Now, during the preseason, well, Jonas already mentioned this. No, so, they were quite busy during the off season. They added Mr. Bielicha. They also added Otto Porter Jr. And then, of course, the big acquisition. Well, not an acquisition, but the big deal really was Steph Curry staying with them, signing that contract
Oh yeah, so we're
extension,
Max
right?
again.
The
Yep.
new
Yeah.
contract. And then they also signed and added, of course, former Warrior Andre
Back.
Iguodala.
Yeah.
And then right before the season, when they were making, the decisions on who to cut, we all know that one of their last cuts was Avery Bradley. But because they were very high on a guy named Gary Payton the second, and obviously that decision has paid off for the
The
Warriors
Warriors.
as Gary
Young
Payton
Glove.
the second, yes, The son of the glove has actually found his niche here with the Golden State Warriors. To be very exact, has played in 45 games, started in 9, has averages of 7.8 points, 2.9 rebound, 3.7 rebounds, and take note of this, 1.3 steals with a PR of 20.84 as of the moment. Okay? So there you go. So how about your thoughts, Jonas, on those acquisitions? Now
No,
that we've mentioned them already.
yep, like we mentioned earlier at the start of this episode, I think they really play off Steph well. Primarily, even Otto Porter, I think he's actually a big acquisition for me. He can space the floor and actually defend. Also, well, like you mentioned, Gary Payton Jr. finding his niche with the team, doing a lot of defense and even off-ball movements with regards to just cutting, and then he has a lot of great dunks, looking into their games, and yeah, even Bielitsa and Iggy back, I think, even though he has some games where he rests due to his, I think, back injury, but at times he has been contributing well. But yeah, the rotational players that they added really helped a lot with regards to the system that Steve Kerr has implemented since the start of his coaching with the Warriors, and really plays off Steph well as well. So it was a good off season for them, at least for the Warriors.
Okay, so is it a thumbs up or a thumbs down for
Oh, that's a
the
thumbs up, of course.
most definitely a thumbs up para dun sa mga acquisitions nila nung off-season, and also the decisions that they made. They say retaining Peyton and then
Right,
letting
right.
go of Avery Bradley, etc. Okay, now let's proceed to some other key players. Okay, so pag-usapan muna natin yung mga bata nilang players. No? So they have some core
Oof.
young players here. Okay, so we talked about their two rookies already, pero they also have some young players which they drafted in the previous years. Mamaya na natin puntahan si James Wiseman. No? So puntahan muna natin yung mga naglalaro. So
Yes,
let's talk
sir.
about Jordan Poole, Damian Lee, tapos si Kevon Looney. No? So these are of course si Juan Toscano Anderson, that's another guy. They've really been very important dito sa success so far ng Warriors.
Right.
Can you share some of your thoughts on these young players, other young players of the team?
The first guy that I would really want to talk about, I think he's not talked about much, but recently has been really performing well. I think it's Kevon Looney. He has been there at least. I think his rookie season was the 73-9 season Warriors, and yeah, the Warriors haven't let them go since. He has grown into a really solid center for them, even though he's, I think, just 6'9", 6'10". But he has been rebounding the ball really well for them. He plays, he sets a lot of good picks for Steph to get those open threes. He really just grinds out there. And also, with regards to the other players, I think Jordan Poole has stepped up into a much bigger role. Prior to Klay joining back in, he was the starting, I think, shooting guard as well. Um, he has career highs in points and even I think rebounds and assists as well. His shooting percentages are up. So even if when came back, he has been the leading six man, I think, for the Warriors, giving them their scoring bursts for the bench. And also with regards to Damian Lee and Juan Toscano under Anderson, they know the system from last year, playing with Steph, Draymond as well. So they have really good, solid young players that would carry their tradition moving forward, and I like them a lot as rotational players as well.
Okay, thank you, Jonas. No, so just for the record, no, let's start with Kevon Looney, yung binanggit ni Jonas kanina. Take note of this, 48 games played,
Oof,
48 games started. No?
started.
So,
He
of
hasn't missed a
course, it
game.
means a lot na si Kevon Looney, who has been a little injury prone, no,
Yes,
is
yes.
healthy right now. He's actually averaging 20.7 minutes, giving the Warriors 6 points per game and 7 rebounds. May kasama pang 1.6 assists yan, Jonas, and
Yes.
um, point 0.8 blocks, and then he doesn't turn the ball over that much as well, which is very good. No? Importante rin yan dahil mapapasahan din siya, especially in certain situations. And then, of course, Kevon Looney also has a very good PER of let me just double check si Kevon Looney nga, but yeah, 16.04 ang kanyang PER. No, and then of course si Jordan Poole. Well, if Klay now, because Klay is back, so Jordan Poole is now coming off the bench. So kailangan niya lang to make sure if he would qualify for the 6-man, kailangan mas madami siyang games na hindi na-start versus the
Starter.
games na na-start. So far, he has already started 33. So, kaya pa naman, basta as long as he
Yeah.
comes off the bench, no, for the rest of the season. The numbers, of course, were very good as a starter. He averaged 16.7 points per game, 3 boards, 3.3 assists, and also a PR of 14.28. And alam naman natin, no, Jordan Poole had some really good games, especially when Klay was not yet around.
Yes.
And then yung binabanggit ni Jonas, Damian Lee and Juan Toscano, they will not blow you with their numbers, no? They'll not blow you away with their numbers, but because they are solid role players, Toscano Anderson plays 15 minutes, Damian Lee plays 20 minutes, and they have contributions. So Lee averages 8 points, 3 rebounds, while Toscano Anderson 4 points, 3 rebounds, 1.9 assists. These are the guys that you need, diba? To make sure that the team is actually or for the team to be successful, you need guys who will do the other things, no? Aside yung mga nakakatulong dun sa kanilang star players. And thus, in line with that, thumbs up or thumbs down for the young players, the young
Oh,
role
thumbs up.
players of the Warriors.
I think that's a thumbs up.
Okay, a definite thumbs up again from Jonas. Okay. And then, syempre, hindi naman natin pwedeng pag-usapan yung Warriors nang hindi pinag-uusapan yung kanilang mga veteran players. Okay, simulan muna natin with the guy who just came back. Okay,
Oh,
the former finals MVP, Andre Iguodala.
Iguodala.
Of course, the numbers suggest na he's no longer the Iguodala of old, no? 25 games played lang. Pero ano ba talaga yung impact na nadadala ng Andre Iguodala, even though the numbers would say 4 points, 4 rebounds, he's not even averaging a lot of assists. What does an Andre Iguodala bring to the table, Jonas?
I think for me personally, the veteran presence that he brings to the young guys, like we mentioned earlier on, Kamenga, Moody, eventually even Weissman to some degree, along with Poole, Looney, and others, stepping into a much bigger role in the future. Iggy, gives them that veteran leadership, the qualities that they, even like a guy like Draymond, they exert that leadership qualities that they spread along the team. And I think yun talaga yung nakakatulong kay Iggy. And when he plays, he knows the system well. Since of course you mentioned, sir, a former Finals MVP, a three-time champion with them, so he knows in and out what goes on their system with the players, especially the big three with Steph, Clay, and Draymond. So he teaches a lot to the young guys on what to do, what to expect moving forward. So he brings a lot of that veteran presence on the team, and I think that's very valuable. For a team like Golden State that is looking for the championship this year, I believe so. So yeah, I think Iggy helps out with them with regards to that. Sir.
Okay, so it's basically yung tinatawag nilang intangibles, no? Yung mga bagay na hindi nakikita sa stats pero marami pa rin talaga siyang nadadala, no? And every time Iggy plays, no, it brings a lot of stability to the team as well. He still has the knack for making those big shots. Di ba?
Yes, yes, yes.
Parang hindi, ano niya, favorite niya kapag yung mga, even though he's shooting poorly, parang yung si Ryan Buenafe. He can miss all the shots, pero pagdating sa dulo, makakashoot pa rin. And then of course, yung kanilang, the guy who has really changed the narrative of his career. No, muntikan pa hindi maglaro 'to. Naalala mo pa yung preview episode natin that was hosted by Joseph. By the way, shout out to Joseph Alfonso who unfortunately was not
Magay.
able to join us here because he's very busy as of the moment. No? So sa mga fans po ni Joseph Alfonso, ayan, yung pababawi na lang po siya next time. No? Especially for mga babae. No? Na maraming fans na babae.
Ay, grabe.
Ayan, yan, mahirap pag wala ka dito, Joseph. Eh, kung ano-ano nasasabi namin eh. Okay. Okay, so ngayon, yung pinag-uusapan natin, the guy who almost was unable to play because of the vaccination issues, but eventually he decided to have the vaccine. The former number one pick noong 2014, Andrew Wiggins. Okay, what can you say about Andrew Wiggins?
He's shooting career highs, I think, in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. Free throws ang kailangan niyang i-work, but still, he has been productive for them since last year at least. He has been a good defender as well. I think he's found a home with the Warriors because previously with the Wolves, they were struggling as a team and he was scoring points. Pero I think merong nagkaroon din ng issue at the time with the Jimmy Butler situation and other things that involved with Minnesota. When he got traded, I think he found a home with the Warriors. Having the stability around him, I think a good. I'm not saying bad things about the Wolves. I think they're doing good as well. Shout out to the Wolves, but a good organization like the Warriors, who has the leadership of Steve Kerr, Steph, Klay, and Draymond, really I think affected his play. And as of the moment, at least he is an all-star. Sometimes when Steph struggles, he is the one that carries the offense. So he really helps out a lot on both ends of the floor. So if you're gonna ask later on the thumbs up or thumbs down, he's definitely a thumbs up, sir, for the Warriors for me at least.
Okay, well said by Jonas, no? So again, just to be very clear about it, Andrew Wiggins, no? He is only a career 44.8% from the field, pero this year he is shooting 48%. No, he has also, the good thing about Andrew Wiggins, by the way, no, just to add, he's always available. No, he's always been durable, eh. No?
Yeah, very durable.
Ganda
Yeah.
kay Andrew Wiggins, he's always ready to play. He actually played in 44 games, and then in his career, he has already played in more than in almost 570 games. Now he has already played in 569 to be very exact. And then another major improvement. I don't know, maybe it's because it helps when you're playing with Steph and Klay and all these super shooters around you, because Wiggins, who is a career 34.83% three-point shooter, is now shooting 40% from deep. Unfortunately, yung free throws nga, ayan. Yan lang ang parang medyo bumaba. Siguro masyadong nawili sa tres. Nakalimutan. Sa free throw, only shooting 67% from the line. But again, the points may be just around 18 this season, pero it's the impact, no? Sasabihin ng iba, hindi naman 4 rebounds, 2 assists, less than 1, wala pang 1 steal a game. So ano yun, bakit yung sinasabing all-star level? It's more of the way he impacts the game for the Warriors, no? He may not be their main player, pero kagaya nga na sinasabi ni Jonas, pag nagsistruggle si Steph, si Andrew Wiggins yung talagang naaasahan nila to pick up the load and, do the scoring for them. So, kudos to Andrew Wiggins, who's also a very good defensive player.
Yes.
Yeah, sobrang solid din niya sa defense. Okay? So now, syempre, pupuntahan naman natin yung kanilang in line with defense, Jonas. He's injured right now. No, he did play when Klay came back for 7 seconds.
7 seconds, yep.
Para lang masuportahan ang kanyang kaibigan na si Klay. Of course, we're talking about Draymond Green. And I think, Jonas, sabihin na natin ang lahat ng gusto nating sabihin kay Draymond. Pero, I think ngayong wala si Draymond, kitang-kita yung
Grace.
impact niya, no? At
Yes.
kung ano yung nawawala sa Golden State kapag wala si Draymond
Draymond.
Green. Even though sometimes, again, yun nga, tinatawag siya as the triple singles, di ba? It doesn't matter eh. Ang point doon, hindi natin may pagkakaila yung impact niya. Tama ba ako?
Yes, of course. I think prior naging injured siya, I think he was the defensive player of the year. At least a candidate. Also, not only on the defensive end, but on the offense, he is the primary playmaker. I'm not saying Steph is, a bad playmaker. He can do that, but he creates more opportunities for Steph to shoot those threes, and even guys like Gary Payton, Wiggins at times cutting through the lane. Draymond knows he has good court vision, so he really affects the team on both ends. But it's very apparent nung na-injured siya, nag-struggle sila on talaga kasi I think nalawala yung parang stability on both sides of the ball. Dahil yung ball movement, I think, nagsa-start sa kanya. He starts the ball movement and eventually they get that great shot that they would want. And on the defensive end, he is their backbone. He guards, I think, 1 through 5, in my opinion. And he really was a defensive player of the year candidate. But, sadly, he's injured. I think he'll come back strong. But he has performed well this year prior to the injuries.
Okay. Right now, they're missing Draymond Green a lot. No? I think mas nabibigyan ng importance yung value ni Draymond Green. Nakikita natin ngayon kung kahit gaano kagaling sila Steph at sila
Yeah.
Klay, kailangan talaga nila si Draymond as a facilitator and then of course sa defense din. Alam na rin naman natin to, no? Based from yung mga nangyari doon sa past seasons na si Draymond really excels kapag nahandyan din yung mga magagaling niyang kakampi, no?
Yes.
Si Draymond, alam na natin na hindi siya yung type na he should be the primary player of a franchise. No? He's there to be the glue guy and to provide the support, to provide the defense and the facilitating. Yun talaga yung specialty niya, no? Hindi siya yung ilalagay mo siya on a bad team and then you expect him to be a superstar. He really
Superstar.
works well with other stars around him. Okay? So now, of course, ang nagbabalik. Puntahan na natin na nagbabalik. So far, he has played in 7 games. Of course, I support this guy. Not just because he's my fantasy player this year, but because I really just support him. How could you not root for a guy who's missed 2 years, di ba? And dahil sa dalawang major injuries. But again, the numbers, of course, are still there. Maybe not at Klay level numbers, but he's still nakikita natin yung effort niya to try to really get back. Of course, we're talking about none other than yung isang side ng Splash Brothers, Klay Thompson. Okay, so yes sir. So yan, napaka-emotional na naging return ni Klay. Tama ba ako, Jonas?
Yes, of
Hey,
course.
Jonas, were you able to watch that game nung bumalik si Klay Thompson?
Yeah, fortunately wala akong work nun. So na-watch ko yung
Ako rin,
na-watch ko siya and it was really emotional. And like you mentioned nung Draymond segment, he was there at least 7 seconds nga due to his injury, but he really wanted to support his friend Klay. And so far, he is looking good. I think the first 3 or 4 games he was trying to force his shot because he is looking for that shot a lot at the start. But I think the last game when I saw the highlights against the Mavs, he wasn't forcing his shot. He's starting to look more like the Klay of old, off ball movement. He has one of the, I think, picture perfect jump shots of all time. I like his jump shot a lot. And I think as the season progresses, Steve Kerr giving him a lot more minutes, his conditioning would improve, and then he would hit those shots normally again, like at Klay level. It might not be 100% due to it was an Achilles and ACL, and it's tough to come back to those kind of injuries. And you've been out for 2 years. I think the last game that he played was the game 6 of the finals against the Raptors. He was hot in that game. Unfortunately, he got injured, and then the next year he got injured again, and it's really tough to come back at an elite level due to those injuries. But so far, at least, he is playing well. He is getting. I think he will get back to a Clay level at some point. I'm not sure if it's gonna be this season, but he start working his way back, and I'm just really happy to see him. As a basketball fan, I think you would concur, sir, that he is really such a good guy and just a great basketball player all throughout. And we really just support him, those kind of things. So I really like seeing him on the court right now.
Tapos yun nga, yung sobrang grabe yung emotional effect, no? Nung bumalik si Klay Thompson after 2 years. Grabe, parang ano eh, no? Iba yung pakiramdam makita uli si Klay Thompson. Lalo na nung unang tira niya, nakashoot agad, di ba? Like, yung drive na layup. Grabe yun eh. Basketball in general missed Klay Thompson a lot, right? So,
Oh,
and
that's
basketball
true.
in general needs Klay Thompson. And we're just so happy to have, Klay Thompson back playing again and doing his thing for the Golden State Warriors. And of course, hindi naman natin pwedeng pag-usapan ng Warriors nang hindi pinag-uusapan ang face of the franchise, the guy who has been or who has actually led the Warriors to the championships, even though some would say that
Oops,
it
oops.
wasn't really the case. It was really because of a guy named Kevin Durant. Pero sige, at the end of the day, Steph Curry changed the game, and that's been the case. And he's, of course, the face of the Golden State Warriors. What can you say about Steph? He has been struggling
As of
recently.
late, yes.
Yeah, missing a lot of shots. Maybe he's tired, Ano ba naman. Pero ano, at the end of the day, still putting up super numbers here.
Yeah, that
26 a
is
game,
right.
5 boards, 6 assists with a PER of 21.83. And of course, lights out shooting as always. Thoughts
Well,
on Steph Curry?
I think I think the thing with Steph, he started hot on the season, but I think the pressure of him being the number one 3-point shooter, passing Ray Allen, and watching that game against New York. Oh, shout out Sir John Moore for that game. Watching watching that specific game, I think a lot of pressure was released when he made the shot to pass Ray Allen. But it took a lot of him, I think. Like moving forward into the scene until now, he's still struggling on the three. I think he's shooting career lows in field goal percentage and even 3-point percentage. So I think he will bounce back. And like you mentioned, sir, even though he's struggling, he's still averaging 26, 5 and 6. That is insane. Reg- Um, and I think he is the face of the franchise, and what makes the team go. He is, I think, the system that revolves around the Warriors, and he would try and lead that team to being a contender in the West. The man that would get them to the promised land, that should get them to the promised land, would be Steph. And so far, at least, he is an MVP candidate, regardless of the shooting slumps. Um, but to be honest, I'm just really happy seeing him alongside Clay. Part of it, Splash Brothers being together. I just want to see them perform well together. So that's, I think, more on Steph moving forward.
Okay, thank you for those super wonderful thoughts, Jonas, on Steph Curry. No? So, again, ang sabi rin na natin, siguro may factor din lang. Maganda yung pinoint out ni Jonas kanina, yung tungkol dun sa nung nalagpasan na niya si Ray Allen. No, kasi baka for the longest time, he was looking at that record. And then when he finally did it, di ba? Parang, it would, just
Right.
like with anything, di ba? Pag medyo nakuha mo na yung matagal mo ng minimithi, nagkakaroon naman talaga ng slide eh, di ba?
Uh-huh.
After. No?
Yes.
Kasi nakuha mo na eh. Di ba? And then, wala na siyang ibi-beat, no? And so everything is now bonus na, in other words. Okay, so for sure, Steph will bounce back. And sabi nga ni Jonas, if there is one guy who will bring them to the promised land once again, walang iba yon kundi si Stephen Curry. Okay. So, final thoughts on the Warriors, Jonas? Syempre, ang lagi naman magiging final thoughts dito ano ba? Hanggang saan ba
Well,
mararating ng team na ito?
I'm looking forward at least the West Finals. I think the Suns and Warriors are the team to beat in the West. Looking at the other teams that, well, we'll talk about them more later, but the Warriors are a standout team with Steph, Clay, and Draymond. Hopefully, Draymond comes back healthy. Wiseman, by the way, I haven't talked about Wiseman for a bit, but looking at him, he has been working out with the team, at least individually. Hopefully, he comes back strong due to the injury that he had. But if he comes back healthy, along with the guys, rotational players like Otto Porter, Gary Payton, and so on and so forth, Jordan Poole, Kevon Looney, this team has a chance. And as long as the core is together, chemistry is still the same, they have a shot. That's what I can say, sir.
Obviously, you and Sir John medyo may pagkaiba ng thoughts about it, no? Ah, si Sir John kasi naniniwala siya na may pagka-pretender pa rin ng Warriors.
It's the motherfucking Eagle Double G.
No? Rather than contender. And it's not because he's hindi dahil hindi siya high dun sa Warriors. He just feels like at the end of it all, yung experience would come into play and medyo mas malalim din talaga yung karanasan ng Phoenix. Okay, so that is it for our episode on the Golden State Warriors.
Shout out, I think sa work ko, my workmates.
Yes, sir. Yun ang gusto ko
First
dati. Sinashoutout
Um,
lang natin. You're gonna have the interview. Ngayon, sinashoutout mo na mga katrabaho mo. That's what we're talking about. Okay, yan
Let's
ang
go, sir. First time.
Nice TV.
So, yung mga workmates ko po, and lagi kaming night shift. So, laging pagod, pero grinding through it. First time ko maka-earn, kaya masaya ako. Thank you sa experience and hopefully so far, tuloy-tuloy lang. And of course, by the way, shout out, at 2 years ago, my idol, Kobe Bryant, Gianna Bryant as
sir.
well. And along with the 7 other people, helicopter crash. God rest them souls. I miss him a lot. Thoughts on the Bryant family as well. So yeah, there we go, sir.
Okay. So that is it for our episode on the Golden State Warriors. Again, I'm J.I. Dimes, and together with Jonas Guzman and Sir John Mangotara, we will again see you on the next episode. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.